we are live. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Happy Wednesday. Hope everybody is doing well. If you are new to the channel, welcome. I am Chris with Monsters Under Our Bed. We cover true crime, mystery to the missing. Today we're going to be doing an update on Mica Miller's case. Sadly, she was found dead on April 27th. Her death was kind of a suspicious death. But it has been ruled a self-inflicted gunshot wound. I have to be careful with the words I use because there's a certain word that YouTube doesn't like. But there has been some FOIA requests done, and I have snagged as much as I could. And I tried to kind of put in chronological order before her untimely death and show some people some things that I haven't heard of before. So we will definitely go over that. If you're not familiar with the case, I did put out a video yesterday. So I'll play like a little highlight, 3-minute highlight of that, just for anybody that's not familiar with this case. But what a very tragic case. And yeah. But before we get started, let me get the right folder going here. As always, we like to give back by featuring missing people. Oops, looks like I just got an email. I'm hoping that is from Michaela. I will check that out when I play this video. Anyway, we're going to feature James Yablonsky. This is a boy who went missing last year, June 12th. Usually I put up the flyer, but I actually made like a 2-minute clip. So I'm going to play that real quick because I'm trying to reach out to the father. I have a mutual friend that I believe has spoken with the family, and so we may have him on. I'm not sure, or at the very least, I'll get some more details. But it's a case we'll cover here in the very near future. So I'm going to play that first, and then we'll get as people kind of filter in. Then we'll get into Mica Miller's case. But this is a case that we're going to be covering here real soon. And here is the video. Let me just get this full there.
Father of a missing Sauk County teenager is asking the community to help him find his son. 13-year-old James Yablonsky left his home in Reedsburg early on June 12th, ditched his family's van on Highway 12, and headed into the woods. The Sauk County Sheriff's Office says Yablonsky might be trying a survival mission.
The van's gone and James is gone. He's got my phone.
I knew something was up. And then you can actually hear me on the camera outside screaming and hollering. You get the kids up and just freaking out because I had no phone, no way to call anybody.
And stopped at his dad's business in the Dells twice. After that, the timeline gets a bit fuzzy.
And then we were able to track his movement through electronic data throughout the county.
Officials from all over Wisconsin combed through this area looking for any sign of James. Now that's because we know he parked the van here on the side of Highway 12 near Baraboo before disappearing into the woods where he... During their nearly week-long search, investigators found a campsite.
100-ish yards to the west of Highway 12 up a real steep hill. Kind of leveled off up on top, and that's where the belongings were found.
And what's found there?
So there was bags and some clothing, some hygiene items, and then the cell phone that belonged to his father, Bill.
I think he was coaxed into leaving.
From there, he feels someone picked James up.
I just want somebody to call and say, look, he's here, you know, or if somebody's holding him, turn him loose. Send him home.
In the months since he's been gone, James has missed his first day of 8th grade. His father, Bill, has missed James' 14th birthday, and now they've missed Christmas together. Bill says every day is spent missing his son.
All right, so that is James Yablonsky. I'm trying to get a hold of the father, and like I said, I have to speak to him before I get ahead of myself, but maybe if he wants to come on and do an interview, or maybe offline do an interview, and then we we played after. Like I said, I have to talk to him, but hopefully, one way or another, we'll be able to cover his story and maybe get some more details, because obviously he went missing in June of last year, and we're the beginning of May. We're almost 1 month on his anniversary since he went missing, and in a lot of these missing cases, the family feels like law enforcement isn't doing enough, and so they need other resources like someone like me or other channels, media, to get James's story out there. And of course, that's what this channel is all about, is helping the missing. So with that, hopefully we'll have more news and updates maybe by Friday. So anyway, moving on to Mica Miller. This is Mica Miller, a 30-year-old woman. Get her thing ready here. So if anybody's not familiar with the story, here's just a quick recap on a little bit about her story. I'm just going to get the video there. Perfect. And then again, I've got some FOIA reports. So I'm going to go, like I said, play her recap story, which is I think about 3 minutes. It's just kind of a highlight from my video from yesterday. And then we'll go in kind of chronological order of some of the reports that I was able to get, kind of explaining a little bit more context of what was going on before her untimely death. So with that, I'm going to play that, and then, actually, let me move this window over so I can see what Michaela sent me. Who was energetic, full of life, and a loving sister. Here we go. This is Mica Miller, a 30-year-old woman who was energetic, full of life, and a loving sister and daughter. Recently, Mica had been dealing with a pending divorce with this man, former pastor John Paul Miller.
This is the worst sermon I've ever preached my whole life. I can't stand it. I just want to give the altar call and quit now. One day, listen, if you ever want to know what I'm going through in life, it's always about what I'm preaching about. God is so good to do that every single time.
Mica claimed that she had been dealing with many forms of abuse from John Paul, as mentioned in this clip.
Relationship, whether that's sexual, whether that's somebody forcing you to take illegal drugs, or alcohol abuse, or physical abuse, psychological abuse, making you think that this is all your fault, or you're a bad mom, or you're a bad wife, or you're a bad husband, or you're not giving it your all when you know you are.
But sadly, on April 27th, just days after serving her husband with documents about a no-contact order, she was found dead in the Lumber River State Park. The cause of death, self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head.
Talk about the announcement here in the building, please, if you can, so y'all can stand to your feet. Before I make the announcement, I also want to say that my request to you is that you will continue to come to church and serve and give for the next little bit, because I don't want to have. I'm taking a little bit of a break, and I don't want to have to worry about the church. My break may be a few days, a few weeks, I don't know. I got a call late last night. My wife has passed away. And it was self-induced, and it was up in North Carolina. And so it's all I can. I'm just kind of going on adrenaline right now. So y'all pray for me.
Many wondered what John Paul's shady past and her allegations.
Right now, so.
And he says he's going on adrenaline. I don't know. That's a red flag for me.
Y'all pray for me.
Many wondered what John Paul's shady past and her allegations. Could this have been staged and something more nefarious? Her family was adamant that she was not a woman who was acting like she was going to take her own life. And recently, Mica stated, "If I end up with a bullet in my head, it was JP," referring to John Paul Miller. So what actually happened on the 27th of April? According to recently released documents, it seems that 11 a.m. Mica is captured on ring cam at her residence, leaving her home. She is then captured on surveillance at a nearby pawn shop around noon, purchasing a 6-hour 9mm, along with a box of bullets. After purchasing the gun, Mica would then head to the Lumber River State Park, which is just over an hour drive. Sadly, it's believed she arrived to her final destination sometime before 3 p.m. At 2:54 p.m., Mica would make a 911 call from her cell phone.
Robeson County 911, what's the address of your emergency?
Hi, are you able to trace the location of my phone?
Yeah, she hung up the phone. The dispatcher attempted to reconnect with Mica multiple times, but she did not answer her phone. At 3:03 p.m., Robeson County deputies were dispatched to the state park for a well-being check and to locate Mica. After requesting a phone ping and more deputies arriving on location, they started using a drone and other resources in an attempt to locate Mica. But while conducting an aerial search, detectives were approached by a person who said they had found a bag while fishing with Mica's ID inside. This person said they had heard crying and then a gunshot. After hearing the gunshot, they traveled further where they had discovered a bag 2 feet from the water's edge. Yeah, so it'd be interesting to know if there was screaming, because all I've heard is the crying part. Michaela's saying that this came from Annalise, which I'm sure many, if you're familiar with true crime and podcasts, Annalise is she's an amazing podcaster, YouTuber, and I know she's got an amazing team that vets their sources. I would say it's possible maybe it was misspoken and she said screaming, but again, I'd have to hear it and see. Because that is definitely the first time I've heard screaming. I just remember crying, but it is interesting. At 4:23 p.m., another individual called 911 to say he had located a body in the water. This person had been fishing in his kayak when he had found Mica Miller's body. At about 6 p.m., the ME was contacted, along with CSI collecting evidence from the scene. Multiple items were collected from Mica's Honda Accord, which included a 6-hour gun case and a box of ammo. Further investigation showed that Mica searched national parks near me on her phone, and Lumber River State Park came up. At around 7:11 p.m., they discovered the 6-hour 9mm in the water. The serial number matched the one Mica had purchased earlier that day. So where was former pastor John Paul Miller during this time frame? According to the investigation, John Paul had traveled to Charleston for a sporting event on the day prior, on April 26. He supposedly stayed the night there and has an alibi. He was also spotted by a license plate reader around the time of the incident, traveling with other people. So it seems the allegations of his direct involvement were unfounded, but the statements made by Mica prior to this and her family firmly believing she would not take her own life certainly raised red flags. Yeah, like I said, I'll have to check out Annalise. Michaela's saying that came from Annalise, which is an amazing channel. And so we'll have to check that out. Maybe it was either misquoted or maybe she's got more information that we just haven't heard of. It would be interesting. Olivia says this case has grabbed me. Yeah. Just a terrible tragedy that's I believe could have been avoided. So we're gonna get into some more context and some stuff that happened before, along with the reports that we had before. But I did want to say that the family recently said that they are attempting to, they want to sue John Paul Miller for her death. And if anybody doesn't remember, this is not the first time that something like this has happened.
I saw him text her all the time, but I didn't think that they had a relationship like that.
So I have to apologize because this come from HBO, and I know I get strike in about 2 seconds, so I had to play it really fast. But this is just a HBO trailer to "I Love You Now Die." by Michelle Carter versus the Commonwealth. If anybody hasn't heard of this story,
So far from, acceptable
really
human
tragic.
behavior. The trial of a Plainville woman accused of encouraging her friend to kill himself through text messages is now underway. We're all left wondering what happened. Now we have this opportunity to see inside their minds. One level of the conversation is a kid that's going to kill himself. And there's another level that's a romantic fantasy.
The question is, can you cause someone else to commit suicide? She keeps at him, at him.
The defendant's own words. His death was my fault. I told him to get back in. Mr. Roy himself stated, I want you guys. She thought she was...
So, for anybody who's never heard of this story, it's on HBO. I think it's on YouTube as well. I think a lot of eventually they, YouTube they have posted in parts. But the Commonwealth versus Michelle Carter. I forget what year this happened, and it's been a while since I watched the documentary. But basically, in short, she was found guilty of causing his self-inflicted harm because she had been texting with him. And he was already clearly, going through a terrible state of depression. And she basically, had kind of coerced him into taking his own life, saying it would just be better, take your own life and I'll be there with you, kind of in spirit, but texting him while he's doing this terrible thing to himself. And even at one point, he gets out of the truck because he's using carbon monoxide. Now, he can't use it with a vehicle, but he used it like a water pump or something like that. And anyway, at one point, he even gets out because he's like, like, I'm scared and I'm starting to... I forget the exact quotes. But then she tells him, like, get back in the vehicle. I love you, now die, basically. And just really tragic story, but yeah, she, I forget, she was found guilty, but I forget what she was served. I don't know if anybody knows in the comments, but anyway, so this isn't the first time something like this has happened. So Lily says, you watched that documentary yesterday? Oh wow, that's pretty wild. Was it a generator? What did I say? Water pump? Generator, something like that. Yeah, I think you're right. It's been a while since I watched it. I'm sure at least 4 or 5 years, but really tragic. So let's kind of get some context going. So the victim told the police that she had been her husband since she was 10 years old, and we'll see this report here in a bit, and that he groomed her. So originally we had heard 14, 15, but she claims since 10 years old, which is really disturbing. And that is when she started working for John Paul, the Solid Rock Church. And then up to the point they were married in 2018. And here is the photo, I'm assuming, where he is proposing to her. Looks like he's on his knees, and we can see what looks like to be a case. So just kind of going through some context here. We're now kind of climbing on the numbers. If you can, please hit that like button. Also, if you're new to the channel, again, welcome. We not only cover true crime, but we go out searching for the missing. We were originally going to take this month off and cover the Richard Allen trial, but that has been pushed back to October. But any donations, PayPal, Venmo, and stuff like that that comes in will go towards our next search. We may even plan on going out and searching for somebody as early as next week. But we'll talk more about that towards the end of the show. So here is what, according to him, is what she was diagnosed with. I thought I'd just put this out there. According to him, his wife was diagnosed with bipolar 2, schizophrenia, and dependent personality disorder. I haven't really I've heard of personality disorders. I'm not familiar with dependent personality disorder. Bipolar I'm familiar with. Schizophrenic, I've had a friend's brother who was dealing with 2 of those, and it was, at times he had some, he did struggle.
2 months before Mica filed.
So now we're just going to kind of get in. So there was Mica filed for divorce in October 2023. And just in that early next year or early this year is when apparently John Paul was at
gave her his phone
at this place here and had tipped this woman and gave her his number. And here is her story. I believe this happened in February.
number. That was allegedly 2 months before Mica filed for divorce. The bartender reached out to him after learning about Mica's death.
Oh, excuse me. So, no, 2 months before October 2023.
And says that she was surprised by his response.
He mostly just seemed to ask for pictures. He didn't say anything about meeting up. I kind of suspected that it wasn't going to be what you would expect from a grieving husband.
What did he say?
I asked him if there was anything new, like how have you been, what's new? And he said, lots new, LOL.
News Nation has also been able to confirm with a friend of Mica's that her family plans to file some kind of a lawsuit against Pastor Miller, despite the 911 call and medical examiner's report appearing to corroborate his story, Hannah.
The details just get more and more confusing. Emily, thank you so much for shedding light on this case.
So here is one of the FOIA reports that we got. So we're going to read this. This is, I believe this is one of the newer ones. But there, I tried to put everything in chronological order just to kind of give, context to everything building up. Will you be going to search with Steve again? I'm sure at some point. Again, keep in mind, I'm in Utah. Steve is now all the way in Florida. So, and he doesn't like to travel by planes. He likes to drive everywhere. And so, we're so far apart. So unless there's something kind of in the middle, I know at one point he is going to come to the west. But a lot of the searches will probably be me and another guy that's an experienced hiker and tracker. Which in this case is kind of what I need. It kind of just depends, you need the right tools for the right job. And not that, of course, having Steve would be helpful for anything, but yeah, it just depends on the timing. So here we go. On November 21st of this year, I met with the complainant. This one is by Mica at 300 Coastal Grand Circle in the city limits of Myrtle Beach, in reference to a report of stolen vehicle. Now, before I go through this is when she supposedly was forced into the hospital by John. The complainant, or I'll just say the CP, but that's Mica, stated that she had been separated from her husband, the involved other. So they use IO a lot. IO is the involved other, which would be referred to John. Since January of 2023, the Mica stated that she was involuntarily hospitalized on February 8th and left her silver 2019 Honda Accord parked in the parking lot of the Walmart neighborhood market located. When the CP was discharged from the hospital staff informed her that her husband picked up her purse and car keys while she was hospitalized. She also stated when she was released from the hospital on February 10th, so she went in on February 8th, and she was released on February 10th. She returned to the Walmart looking for her car, discovered her vehicle was gone. She believed that her husband fraudulently initiated her involuntary hospitalization, stole her car while she was in the hospital. Mica stated that I'm just going to go up a little bit. Mica stated that she has known her husband since she was 10 years old, so this is where this statement comes from, and that he groomed her while she worked for him at Solid Rock Church until they were married 6 years ago. I contacted the husband, who stated that he and his wife were not legally separated and that she suffers from mental health disorders. John stated that Mica experiences episodes on an annual basis. Near Christmas, when she becomes reckless and spends large amounts of money. I'm sorry to laugh, but is he claiming that she just has the episodes around Christmas? And this is, I don't know, that sounds too convenient. Now reading that, it sounds ridiculous. Anyway, let me go back here. So on an annual basis near Christmas, she becomes reckless, spends large amounts of money. When she stops taking her prescribed medication, now that would make sense that she has these episodes when she stops taking her medication. John stated that he was in possession of the silver Honda Accord in order to prevent his wife from selling it during this episode. John pointed out the fact that the vehicle was marital property, obviously wife and husband, and that he was unwilling to give it back to his wife for a month, which he stated was usually the time frame of these reckless episodes. I don't know, this sounds ridiculous. Due to both parties stating that they were legally married, I made the determination that the Honda Accord was considered marital property, therefore I could not establish a criminal offense. I have nothing further at this time. Let me know what you guys think in the chat, though. That kind of, with the whole annual episodes around Christmas. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, right. Yeah, so she has these terrible episodes, but she's only in the hospital for 2 days. Right. And yeah, spends too much money. Yeah. Right.
Horrible thing we can.
Okay, so look at the date. This was, remember, so she was February 8th, February 10th when this happened. Now we have this clip from February 25th. All these start to kind of add more context and have more meaning to them now, seeing these.
Face in our bodies. And pride is probably the most horrible thing we can face in our spirits. And here's why. When you're mentally ill, it's the one sickness you have that you don't know you're sick. And you have to trust people around you because you're saying, no, they're lying to me. They're telling me I need medicine. I don't need medicine, because the thing that's sick is your mind. And your mind is what you need to realize that you're sick. One day I'm going to preach about getting rich, strong, healthy, and finding a...
Okay, keep this date in mind as well. I think this is huge. This, again, now seeing these, and with these new FOIA reports coming out and the dates of these, makes so much more sense of what he's saying in this. And I wish I'd had more time to play more of these clips, but just wasn't sure how much time we'd take up. So obviously we saw a clip from February 28th where he's kind of talking about mental health. Seems like he uses these services as a platform to, talk about his marital affairs, which I think is completely wrong. Now we have March 10th. So keep in mind, March 10th.
And your mind is what you need to realize that you're sick. One day I'm going to preach about
So this is March 10th right here.
getting rich, strong, healthy, and finding a hot wife that loves Jesus. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just kidding. That was wrong. I told you I shouldn't be here today. I told you. Last year, my wife, they went to Africa, had a wonderful trip, amazing trip. And she came back with the idea to start a school in Africa. And 6 weeks ago, she goes in the hospital, gets out, and just leaves. Just completely leaves me, leaves everything, drains the bank account, and goes. And guess what? While you're talking bad about me out there, I'm building a school in Africa for over 100 kids to be able to be fed. The elders walked out.
But anyway, I could play more of that. That's where the same service where, he slams down. He says, all the things that I'm talking about, in my previous sermons, this is what I'm going through right now, and he slams down. That's the same service. That was on March 10th. So, so then we have March 11th. So, we see him, upset in this service. So that, I'm assuming that was a Sunday, March 10th. So this would be Monday. And this is when, two things happen, and we have the reports for him as well. But there's kind of a little bit more with these as well. According to the police reports, Miller, which is Mica, first contacted officers at 1:20 a.m. on March 11th. So, I mean, it's early in the morning. To report one of her tires had been slashed off Margarita Drive. We know that's where her address was. Mica told officers this is the second time a razor has deflated her tire in the last week. Mica said she was leaving for Spring Mid Pier when she heard a pop and noticed that a piece of metal was protruding from the tire. By the time she got to the home, the tire was fully deflated. The officer observed the tire. Upon removal, the metal piece, it was found the metal was a tire deflation device. Now, when I first read that tire deflation device, I thought there was something like a device, like not a tire, like a metal spike strip. I thought this was something more like, a device. You know what I mean? But anyway, it sounds like this is just a piece of metal that was in her tire. So this was March 11th, and then she has a second complaint because she goes to get the tire fixed at East Honda on Highway 17th. As Miller was talking to officers at the dealership, she received a call from the suspect using no ID number. The suspect was advised that the victim does not want any further contact. If he proceeds, then warrants may possibly be written up. And I'm sure we know who the suspect is. The victim advised me that she was afraid for her life. The officer wrote down in the report. She also advised she blocks his numbers and still gets calls and texts from him on other numbers. Then the officer left. The report said a mechanic discovered the tracking device. This is number 1. Tracking device on Miller's vehicle. She then headed to court trying to get a restraining order. Miller handed the GPS device over to the police outside the courthouse. So clearly this isn't something she made up. She handed this over to law enforcement. This was clearly a tracking device. While I was standing out front of the office with the victim, a white and color Honda Accord slow rolled down the lane, and then of course had yelled something. And let's see, do I have the third part of this? I think I might have put these out of order. Oh yeah, when getting filled, the suspect in the incident showed up at the pump trying to talk to her. She told him to go away. If she does not go away, she does not want to talk to him. And then when she pulled her phone out, he sped off. So anyway, so we have 2 incidences. We find the tracking device and, the tire slash incident. And so that was March 11th. So that was after his March 10th service. And then we have this video that's posted on March 18th. I'm just going to play a small clip from this, but I just want to kind of get everything kind of detailed up to her death here.
Hey everybody, I just want to let you know that I'm alive and well, and life's been kind of crazy the couple past weeks, months, years. But I've kind of had to keep my circle really small for the past couple weeks, just because I'm going through a lot and it's hard and it's my cross to bear. It's the thing that God has put in my life to deal with, and I don't want to bring a lot of people into it. I'm so thankful to God for a strong family and the friends that God has put in my life to be there for me at this time.
So again, I planned to play a little bit of this as this now adds context of, she's dealing with the tracking device. That's the first one. We're going to learn about another one here in a little bit. And then, of course, with the tire slashing, which she reported that was the second time. So she's been dealing with a lot of crazy shit. most likely from John Paul. Of course, I have to be kind of careful until there's actual, his name's in the reports. We have to be very, responsible. But I'm pretty sure, if it isn't him, it's possibly an associate of his.
I just wanted to share that my heart and my prayer is that the church would stay strong, that y'all would stick together, because the church is God's people. It's not a man, it's not a person, it's not me, it's God's people, the bride of Christ. And there's a lot of really good people in the church.
So then we have, so that was March 18th of this, where she put this video out. And I think I might have accidentally moved something, but she was also filing papers around this time. No contact orders and stuff like that would eventually be sent out. There's a bunch of things going on in February and March. I thought I put this in between the two videos. I may have accidentally overlapped it. But then we have this video, and then we have some crazy stuff that happens right after.
Whether that's sexual, whether that's somebody forcing you to take illegal drugs, or alcohol abuse, or physical abuse, psychological abuse, making you think that this is all your fault, or you're a bad mom, or you're a bad wife, or you're a bad husband, or you're not giving it your all when you know you are.
So that was on, what was that, 324, right? Well, that goes fast. Sorry, guys.
A lot of really good.
I'm pretty sure that was March.
Whether that's
yeah, it is March 24th.
Bad husband.
So that was March 24th, right? She puts this video out. Then we get 326, 2 days later after that video's put out. Approximately 10:33 hours, Minette was dispatched, so a deputy was dispatched to her house in reference to a suspicious call. When arriving on scene, the complainant, which was her, I'm assuming, met with R.O. in her apartment at 513. The apartment number 513. The complainant advised she had found a tracking device located on her vehicle on 3/24, 2 days prior. Now, this is another incident with the tracking device. Goes on to say she believes, it says, complainant found a tracking device on her black Honda Civic, because in the original tracking device, it says she handed that one over to law enforcement. So if they have the first one, this has got to be a new one. Complainant found a tracking device on her black Honda Civic. She believes it was her soon-to-be ex-husband that planted it. She would like an officer to come check it out, meet at this location. And we got more details. So that's what I read just up right here. Upon arrival, RL spoke with the victim, and IO1, which is involuntary other, which I believe is either the brother or the husband. We'll figure. I think IO1 is the husband. We'll find out here in just a second. I'm pretty sure it's the husband, though. About a tracker that was placed on the vehicle belonging to the victim. The vehicle was blue in color sedan Volkswagen Jetta. Reportedly, a tracker was discovered underneath the back bumper, in between the two wheel wells. The tracker was attached by magnets to the under chassis of the vehicle. Prior to the arrival, the tracker was removed from the vehicle and tampered with by involuntary visual number 1. Maybe that might be her brother, because I know the 3 people involved in this was her brother, and the husband. So IO1 may be the brother. However, oops, I went over that. Well, I'll start from there. However, on the back of the bumper, there was a handprint that appeared to be male. And being that the victim and IO1 were the only drivers and female, also maybe this may be her and her sister. The person said this was her and her brother. So maybe that this is her and her sister. The handprint appeared to be out of place. However, there was another male on scene, IO2. Okay, so maybe this is her sister, and her brother. I'm sorry, when I read this, it said her brother, and I believe it mentioned John. But now it seems like there's two females, which is IO1, and then IO2 is a male, which may be either a friend or the brother. But it says, appeared to have smaller hands than the handprint that was on the back of the bumper. Victim nor IO1 are aware of when the tracker was placed, but was found at the victim's place of residence. So either way, another tracker was found. Hey June, I'm late. No worries. Good to see you. And good to see you, Jennifer. Let's see here. Just checking chat. But yeah, the IO thing is kind of weird, which stands for involuntary other. But it sounds like they may have been, at the very least, the sister and brother, or a sister and a friend. But either way, they said that the only male there, his hands were too small. There was a handprint. But either way, this is a second device located on the vehicle. Then, in regards to, so not long after this incident, as you guys remember, she put out this video that we just played not too long ago, the one from March 22nd. John Paul put in called the cops, and this is a report, and this is what he complained about. This is ridiculous. Phone report. Complainant says, this is John Paul, says he's being harassed on social media and by text by his wife and her family. Would like me to make a report about it. This is March 27th. 5 days after that video came out, in between when they had just found another tracking device. The complainant said that he had been harassed by his wife on social media. Detective and deputy looked at the wife's social media Facebook post where she talks about abuse. There were no names mentioned. Very huge. Because if you guys recall, when you play that whole video, she doesn't mention who she's talking about. It's clear who she's talking about, but she was very smart. She didn't mention any names. So they go on to mention this. There were no names mentioned, and no intent or no harassment on the social media platform. The complainant had no text or proof of harassment and was advised by deputies to block any further social media from his wife, and he was also advised to not look at her page since it upset him. That's hilarious. I would love to see his reaction when they told him that. That is absolutely hilarious. But yeah. Anyway, the complaint mentioned defamation. Is that what? Yeah, that's got to be defamation. I don't think they spelled that right. Defamation of character, but was told that this is not a criminal matter, and that there was no evidence from what detective and the deputy saw. There was no mentioning his name on any of the social media that was posted. The complainant stated that he was a pastor. Oh, so now he's using his, I'm a pastor, man, you know? Piece of shit. And he was worried about his reputation. Oh, God. Oh, no. Not his reputation as a pastor. The detective advised that he could give us a call back if he was being harassed, but that there was no evidence of that in his claim today. Wow. So, yeah, he tried to pull the pastor card and his reputation card, but they weren't buying that shit. Yeah, June, and I for those that had sent some new pet pictures, I'm gonna get those tomorrow. I'm gonna work those in. I should have those for Friday because I did make a new one, but there's a few that wanted to have theirs put in, so I will if that's the one I'm referring to, June. But thank you so much for the $1.99. That does help support our cause and going out searching for the missing because we need all the support we can get because we're gonna be going out probably planning next week. Maybe as early as a week from today, but kind of got to get the funds and the case put together. Moving on. Hey, Sandra, just caught your live. Yeah, we're just going through some of these FOIA reports, and we're going through them in chronological order, kind of building context to everything that happened just before her untimely death. And this one was him reporting harassment, but clearly, all because I believe this video, but there was no harassment, no names mentioned. So then, let me take a sip. So then we move. So that was. Let me go back. What was the date on that? So this was almost at the end of March, 3/27. Now we're going to move to April 8th here. All right. A nude picture of complainant was posted on Facebook by her ex-husband, who has her phone and access to her old Facebook account. The complainant will be on scene to meet with a detective or deputy. She met with the detective met with the complainant, who advised her soon-to-be ex-husband posted a nude photo of her on Facebook page called "Big Boobs and Nice Curves," and tagged her old Facebook account that he has access to. Now we know that there have been, girls that have been kind of blackmailed and have taken their lives because of stuff like this, where their photos get out there, and sadly they feel so shamed and feel like there's no way out and take their own lives. And this has been something that's been happening more and more, and it's absolutely terrible. So to know if she had these, whatever mental health conditions she had, to do something like this is just absolutely cruel and messed up. And I hope this would be a huge piece of evidence, in my opinion, as a catalyst, if there wasn't already many catalysts before this, that could have drove her over the edge. Let me get back to where I was going here. So big boobs. So it was called "Big Boobs and Nice Curves," and tagged her old Facebook account that he had access to. The complainant further advised that he is the only person she has ever sent that type of photo to, and that the photo that was posted was one she sent him 6 months ago. The complainant was able to show the deputy the photo in question, although the complainant's breasts are exposed. It says the nipple is blurred, but still, even if the nipple is blurred, I mean, it's a sensitive photo that she sent, and now he's posting that with this caption. And at this time, this is April 8th. So keep in mind, this is weeks before she's driven over the edge. Yeah, and someone says he calls himself a man of God. Right. Yeah, and we haven't even gone into all of the, we'll touch on it a little bit, but all the times that he's supposedly, has been caught with other women. Yeah, this guy's a total creep and deserves everything that's coming to him. Sorry, lost my spot here. Furthermore, the post of the complainant on the big boobs and nice curves was posted anonymously. Of course, it's going to be posted anonymously, but if he had her phone and access to her Facebook account, who else is it going to be? And if she's the only one she sent the photo to, it's pretty clear who this was. So anyway, moving on. So keep in mind that is April 8th. So we're just right there, Then, can't get any worse. Let me grab chat real quick here. Wallflower with the $20 super sticker. Thank you so much, Wallflower, for the $20 super sticker. You are so awesome. That helps with our mission, and of course, we'll be going right back out to help some other people. We'll talk about the case. I'm kind of looking at Arizona, but again, we'll talk about that at the end of the show. Then we've got Fort 15. So we've got a week later from this nude post. Complainant states that she located a heavy-duty tracker on her vehicle, wants to turn over as evidence, believes her husband placed on her car. She wanted to meet at the unit, notified by officer because the two are married and she has ownership of the vehicle. This is considered a civil issue. Tracker was reportedly found on the back. Was found on a black in color Honda Civic plate, South Carolina. This is not the first time the complainant found a tracker on her vehicle. Officer advised that the tracker is her property. I don't know how that works. Since the two are still legally married. So I'm assuming because the husband bought the tracker, that it's her property because it's marital status, marital property. But anyway, she was willing to turn that over as evidence. Remember, they turned over the first one. It's interesting. They said it was a heavy duty tracker. I don't know if that's maybe a brand. But anyway, let's see. Since the two are still legally married, tracker remained with, so they didn't take this tracker, but the other one was turned over. We know that there is reports that she was being followed, and we'll look at those as well. But as you can see, just things are building up to just before her untimely death. Fly Girl, oh, can you look for Daniel and Chelsea? Is that someone that's missing? Fly Girl, if you want to email me, I'd be happy to take a look at it. If that's what you're talking about. Wildflower says JP is not a man of God. He is a man of his own God. Yeah. Hey, Danny, good to see you. Yeah, he did on her own Facebook page. It's disgusting. So I know this has been read before because this is something that came out a few days ago, but I'm just going to read a few things just kind of, because we're trying to add context before her, this terrible tragedy. And I just wanted to read a few. I know my sister, of course, this is coming from her sister. Is it Sierra, I believe? I know my sister has expressed the abuse and violence against her and her husband, against her by her husband to others, including family members and members of the church congregation. Let's see. I wanted to read the second one here. Oh. She claims that Mr. Miller and her claims against Mr. Miller as to abuse, character, his paramours, associates he's paid off or blackmailed while at the facility. Those documents, emails, because remember she kept a bunch of files for the family. Michael was unable to access her iCloud account, email, Facebook profile. Mr. Miller continued using at least one of Micah's accounts, causing any recipient to believe it was Micah's communications, which we saw that there was a formal complaint with the nude Facebook post. Micah talked about that she wanted talked about what she wanted her life to be following her divorce, having traveled on a church mission this past fall. She was intending to maybe live part-time in Kenya. And so the family's basically saying that this is a person that wasn't getting ready to take her life. She was planning for the future. And then, of course, the huge statement Micah stated on many occasions, if I end up with a bullet in my head, it was not by me, it was JP. So, and maybe that could be a metaphor or simile, whatever. That maybe it wasn't literally by him, the bullet, but if she did do that, it was because he drove her over the edge. I guess you could take it like that as well. So moving on, then we know that after that, and of course they found her on April 27th, where she left her home. She went to a pawn shop, Dick's Pawn Shop, at noon, bought a 6-hour 9mm. From there, she traveled about an hour and a half northwest to North Carolina. Apparently, she had looked up the nearest national parks on her phone, and then at just before 3 p.m. is when she called 911. I'm not going to play the call. I played part of it in my video, but there's certain parts that I left out. But she basically says, can you make sure that are you tracking? She's basically making sure that they're able to track where she's at. Not to get too in detail, but on my dad's side of the family, I came from a lot of, sadly, self-inflicted, the same situation. And 2 of them had actually done the same exact thing. Actually, one of them actually called a couple of family members and then called 911 to tell them where they could find the body. So this is a common thing that does happen, if anybody's wondering. And it's happened in my family where I've had 2 uncles that have actually done that, sadly. And they call 911. That's so they can find the body. And yep. So anyway, she did that. Made sure that her phone could be tracked. Looks like she was standing in the water or near a river or whatever. An individual, and I don't know if this is 2 individuals. So like one found the bag of her ID in the water. And then there was another one that was kayaking, and he's the one the first one had stated that he had heard someone crying and then heard a gunshot. And I saw your post, Michaela, where you misheard that. So there wasn't screaming, so we can confirm that there was no screaming, it was just crying and then a gunshot. And why they went to look for the body, someone that was kayaking then did discover her body in the water. They would recover the gun. They did match the gun to the case, her car was obviously parked. They found the gun case in the car with the box of ammunition, the case, the gun, the receipt. It all matched from what she had bought just hours prior. And then as far as John's alibi, he apparently had traveled to another town, Charleston, I believe, and he was with other people. So as far as himself, seems like he has an alibi, and then he was caught around the time of her death on license plate reader.
And he more or less said yes, lots.
So here is, so I can catch up on chat as well. Here is the waitress that talks about, experience before and right after the Mica's death.
New LOL. I'll text later.
LOL? Laugh out loud?
So, of course, they had connected, I think, at the end of last year, or I think just before October of last year, and then they kind of kept in touch, and then she had been warned about somebody that had been in the church that he was at, that he was bad news. And we'll look at these texts here in a minute, but we'll just listen to what she said, and then we'll read the text. And then, of course, what she just said there was what he had texted her when she had said, hey, what's going on? How's it going?
It was, well, I asked him if anything was new, and he more or less said yes, lots new. LOL. I'll text
And this was right after her death.
later.
LOL? Laugh
Yeah.
out loud?
LOL.
Yes.
Crazy.
All right. And it's at that point that you said, okay, no more with this guy, right?
Actually, I was pretty aware of things from the beginning. I had some suspicions. There were some red flags. I did some research before I even texted him, and then after I did, I spoke with a friend of mine whose friend had a very negative experience, a mortifying experience, really, with him and his church.
What happened?
And that's her story to tell. I know that she witnessed some things that were not appropriate and faced some harassment when she tried to speak out about it.
Based on harassment. So, for those that don't know the whole story, he has been let go from the church.
So let's go back to. I want to
God.
show up that receipt again for.
Oh, and then so this is a newer one as well. I like this one. No, this is still messed up, but I do like the statement in this. So this is after her death. This is 4:30, so this would have been 3 days after her tragic death. This was him going to her apartment to get her things. So it says, complainant stated that his wife passed away. Sorry, excuse me. Complainant, this is John Paul, stated that his wife passed away and he was trying to get the belongings out of her apartment. But the leasing manager will not let him in due to, quotes, her not liking him. I love that. That's so hilarious. So that's her, the leasing manager saying, I don't like you. So that's awesome. So she did the right thing. She didn't allow this guy to go in, because who knows if there was some shady thing going on, because I know some people believe that he may have had an indirect hand, in her death. Was it somebody else that was, there or whatever? If there was any evidence of that, was he trying to hide that up? So it's nice that this leasing manager did not let him in, wants an officer to stand by while he gets some belongings out of the apartment. So kudos to this leasing manager. That's amazing. And I love her quote where she says, she's not going to let him in due to her not liking him. So that's awesome. That is awesome. I'm sure she probably heard horror stories, So yeah, kudos to her. It's awesome. Gail Hurd, thank you so much for gifting a Mob Crew membership. That is so awesome. As a matter of fact, the members and my Patreons, another great way to support the channel is Patreon. I've got my drone footage from this recent trip coming out tomorrow, a part of it. I've got tons of it. And so, yeah, so that's going to be coming out tomorrow. And like I said, we'll talk about a few things at the end of the show about some upcoming stuff we're doing.
That Bill, when you waited on him, was he by himself?
He was with another man.
Okay,
Thank
and
you,
we
Danny.
can see here the bill, he leaves you a $66, no, a $20 tip.
tip.
Is that what it is?
Yes, it was almost a 50% tip.
A 50% tip. Was it clear to you what he meant by leaving a tip like that and with his phone number and a smiley face?
With the phone number and the smiley face included, I think it was pretty clear.
Pretty obvious.
He wanted you to call him.
I would assume that's the implication.
All right. Then you guys exchanged a couple text
Okay,
messages in which he repeatedly asks you to send pictures of yourself,
Yes.
including bikini pictures,
Yeah.
and he called you
What a
super
creep.
hot.
Yes.
I have never asked a girl for pictures. I know that does happen, but I've never done that. I've never done that. On my mother's grave. I've never, I don't know. That if someone were to send me something, it's like, okay, but like, I just, I don't know.
Okay. At this point, do you think he's a single guy? Do you know he's...
It'd be so weird for me to send, hey, I need a bikini pic of you right now, or I can't finish my day. I need a bikini pic. I just,
married?
It's
What do you
cringe.
know about him at this point?
A lot of the things especially after the point that I talked to my friend, I was well aware. I hadn't confirmed everything or all of my suspicions until I talked to my friend. But after that point, I was pretty aware of what was up. And
well, thank you, Lisa.
I feel like we have a rampant problem in our country and especially in our churches with this type of behavior. And I feel that it needs to be brought to light. So I saw an opportunity and I took it.
I just wanted to say I've seen that picture of her as Wonder Woman, and I love Wonder Woman. I love Gal Gadot. Because Wonder Woman, I don't know about the second one, 84. That one was a little, but that was during COVID. I think they had just, unfortunately, had to work with what they had at that time. But I love Wonder Woman. That was a great movie. And she looks great as a Wonder Woman, because she's kind of got that darker complexity. And anyway, just seeing that, I think that's because I love superhero stuff, and that looks really cool that she did that.
I feel that it needs to be brought to light. So I saw an opportunity and I took it.
You got an opportunity to try and get proof that he was propositioning other women while married to his wife.
And the fact that he was a pastor approaching people in this manner.
Yeah. Was there any doubt in your mind what he was asking you for?
No, not at all.
Had behaved. There are all sorts of allegations that he was.
So, just a couple more things here. Dandy says, in my opinion, this dude, this piece of crap, seems like a real dud. Oh, I see it. This dude seems like a real dud. I gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, couldn't agree more. Lisa Aryan, thank you so much. I'm so glad you found the channel, and thank you so much for the $20 super sticker. That is so sweet of you. Thank you so much, Lisa. Yeah, we do a lot of things on this channel. We cover true crime, but we go out and help the missing as well. So anyway, and we'll talk a little bit about that at the end of the show. I know I keep mentioning that. Oh, Deadpool! I can't wait for the new Deadpool. All right, we're gonna get off track real fast if you guys keep mentioning that stuff. All right, we're almost done here, and then we'll mention a few more things here.
Emotionally abusive.
So the family recently came out to say that they are gonna possibly be suing John Paul Miller. Good on them. If they have enough there, they're then do it. Because, it seems like with these tracking devices, these allegations of her being followed, him posting that nude photo, even if it was kind of said the nipples were blurred, even just that, we know that there's been so many girls that have taken their life because of that kind of stuff, where they're almost like blackmailed, or they just feel like, I don't want to speak for them, but that it's happened, and it almost seems like it's gotten worse. And so I think right there, that's some huge evidence. And I mean, this is only the beginning. Who knows what else is going to be uncovered? And I know that there's some really shady stuff on his father's side, which I haven't even touched on. There's some really super shady stuff that I've heard. So yeah.
To her.
So anyway, this is of course, News Nation. She has Mark G. I forget how to pronounce his last name. Who's been the lawyer for Michael Jackson. I want to say Chris Brown, but I think that's not the right Brown. And somebody else, so some big names. Anyway, so they're talking about basically, can they sue? Can the family sue him? And so this is his answer.
I think there's like suggestions that, she was 14 when they met and maybe not that young, not that old when they, turned into a relationship. Is there any civil action, wrongful death that can flow out of the pattern of facts you've seen?
Well, you can always conjure up a cause of action. It's whether or not it's something that will stick, number one. And number two, most plaintiffs' lawyers work on a contingency. If there is a client who can come up with a cause of action, is there somebody who can pay? I hate to kind of rip off the Band-Aid of what civil justice is, but that is kind of the calculation.
Yeah, it is. Mark, thank you. Appreciate it. You were the first person I thought of when it comes to a case like this. It's not often that it's this kind of resolution this quickly, but I appreciate your input. Thank you.
Thank you for watching.
Okay, so anyway, so that's just kind of what was kind of released with the FOIA reports. I'm sure there's going to be more stuff to come out, but even though the family heard that, because before we didn't know, what was the context of the actual what happened on the 27th. Now we kind of know. But, again, you've got this case, the Commonwealth versus, I'm trying to find it here. The Commonwealth versus Michelle Carter. I'm trying to find a photo of her. Oh, there she was. And, of course, this is, I don't want to say different circumstances, but this is where a kid was going through bad depression, and she kind of forced, she was texting him and saying, I'll be there with you, and basically took advantage of his depression and kind of coerced him into taking his own life, which is, it's just terrible. And so anyway, she was found guilty. I forget what she was sentenced to, but so could this be another case of this, just in its own form? But here's this, where April. This is April. This is 2.5 weeks before her death, where he's posting a nude photo of her, and this is before and after these tracking devices and whatever else that I'm sure the family is going to be doing a lot of digging into. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And of course, we'll keep an eye on it. So I got to keep a couple more things to go over, and then we'll finish up. But I do appreciate everybody taking the time out of their day to watch the show. Grape Crush, great name. Thank you so much for the $4. That is so sweet of you. Thank you so much. Maddie's mom, good to see you. Thank you so much for the $2 super sticker. Yeah, I like Wonder Woman and superheroes. I'm not opposed to bikini pics, but I'm not a guy that's going to go out and send, waitresses, hey, can I have your bikini pic? I'm not that kind of guy. Anyway, we'll move on from that. James Brown. Yeah, was it James Brown? Yeah, I was going to say, I knew it had a Brown in there. I was like, Chris Brown, I don't know. I think that guy's, I don't think it was Chris Brown, but that's all that could come to my mind at the time. But yeah, James Brown sounds more like it. Yeah, Michael Jackson, James Brown, because those musicians, right. Miranda says, I know it's ruled. I can't use that word, but it seems like suspicious to me. It really is. And even if it wasn't him directly, still, he could have pushed her over the edge. The family says, she looked good in some of those videos. So it's super sad. So I'm going to end the poll here. We've got 300 votes. Almost 70% believe he's responsible for her death. 21% not sure, and 11% say no. So we got a little bit across the board. Thank you so much, Fly Girl. Again, so we're going to try to I'm trying to get a hold of James Yablonsky, father, and see what kind of, if he wants to come on the show or if he just wants to give me some information about his story. But we're going to be talking about him. And again, if we have him on the show, maybe it'll be this weekend or next week. I just got to speak to him first. And then speaking of next week, we're trying to look towards Arizona. It has to be kind of close to Utah. As much as I'd love to go look out for James, that's a 24-hour drive. And eventually, when we get a bigger channel, we'll be able to go out further. But I kind of need it. Search for people that are kind of in the nearby states, so I could be able to go and do it and come back. So, and there's so many people missing in Arizona. Daniel Robinson, Chelsea Grimm, so many. So we're going to be looking at that. I may even have a show, a Members Live show Sunday where maybe we can have you guys kind of decide or kind of help me come up with the case we should go look at, the next missing person we should go search for. So, D with her humor, if I sent a bikini pic, I would break the camera. Oh, D. Having adding a little levity to a situation. Brandon says, we know you're not a turd, Chris. Oh, thank you. Hello, Chris and crew. I know there are online exams that are fraudulent qualifications to be a past year. Yeah. There are online courses for that kind of stuff. You're right. And from what I know, I think there's some that are, where you can become like I forget the term, but where you can marry people, I believe my dad got that years and years ago, but yeah. Sandy, good to see you. Chris, did you see the video clip of Mica describing a previous attempt? She said how she picked up a gun, pointed it at her head, and pulled the trigger, but the gun whoa, what? No. Sandy, if you have time, I'll have to look that up, but if you have time to send that to me, or just, where I could find that. I have not heard of that. That's terrible. Yeah, Baby Dior, we worked on his case, not to say we won't do it again, but, we tried searching for him. Every case is unique. But that'll always be near and dear to my heart, especially the cases I've worked on. So with that, we'll be back Friday. Again, members and Patreons, I will have stuff for you guys tomorrow. I'm going to be working on it all day. Oh, and one more thing. I'm trying to get this program, which is to use the drone footage. You run the drone footage. I was hoping my license was ready, but it's not. Anyway, this is the program that you use to run the drone footage through, and it highlights certain anomalies. You can actually choose colors for it to keep an eye out for. Anyway, it's an amazing program. It costs $700 a year. Anyway, I may be getting some help in getting that program, so that would be so cool if I do. So anyway, with that, that'd be awesome. Yep, so we'll be back Friday with that. So yeah, new toy. Thought that video was on Plunder. Yeah, Plunder comes out with a lot of. Yeah, she finds some. I love Plunder. She's amazing YouTuber. She always finds some. I want to say off the wall, but she always finds videos that I other people haven't. She's so good at that. I do love Plunder. Highly recommend her channel. I think there is so. Say more to Mica's story. JP is worried stuff will come out. I totally agree. Totally agree. All right, guys. So yeah, those just sent in. There's I think like 3 of you that sent in some pet pictures. I'm gonna try to work on those tomorrow's as well. So with that new pet outro, it should be ready Friday. So thank you to all my wonderful mods: Jennifer, D, Michaela, Karen, Michaela, Jennifer. I always forget a name, so I'm going to try to double them up. I haven't seen Jocelyn. I hope Jocelyn's doing good. Maybe she's on vacation. Copper Horse. There we go. I always forget one. It's just the curse. So, thank you guys. I love you guys. And thank you to the members for supporting the channel. We'll see you guys Friday. And members, Patrons, new stuff tomorrow.
Call me sleepers from you.